We're going to come now to questions that have been submitted. If you've given a question and I call it, then please, if you would like to pose it yourself, please do. If you'd like me to do so on your behalf, just shake your head in a panic-stricken state, and I'll read out as you give it to me. First question is from Stacey Umar. Stacey?
Oh, hi. Yeah. My question is, what are you proposing to do for unemployed young people in Wolverhampton?
The question was, what are you proposing to do for unemployed people in Wolverhampton? Young people specifically, thank you. Ian?
Shall I sit down and stand up?
Whatever you've made it. No, stand up.
I'll stand up, so you can see.
Those who are able.
I'm pleased that this coalition government has managed to introduce 2.5 million new apprenticeships across the country. But that does depend upon the educational achievements being maintained. And I think if we start having, we undermine our education by having unqualified teachers in our classrooms, then we're going to see opportunities for young people to get apprenticeships or go to college, university are going to be reduced. We have to maintain spending on education. I would say that education is the key to any person's personal development. Unemployment has started to go down in Wolverhampton, I'm pleased to say. I'm glad to see that, as Emma mentioned, in fairness, the 1,400 new jobs at Jaguar Land Rover and the spin-offs from that will start to come through in due course. I'm not convinced that all will be in Wolverhampton. I'm sure that many of them will commute from further afield. But it's a start, and I think we have to make sure that we encourage development of industry around Wolverhampton. And one last thing, by the way. We want to make sure that we keep the prospects for employment in Wolverhampton up. Don't ever think about leaving the European Union.
Thank you. So.
What to do for unemployed young people? Well, when I was young and unemployed, I went to a place called the Job Centre. And the Job Centre had little cards up, and you could take these cards, take them back, and you go and talk about a job. That's disappeared. We need to bring that back. We need businesses and local people to set up their own businesses so that they can start employing people later on in time. We need vocational studies to be brought to the fore so that children at 14 or 16 can choose to go towards vocational work, which will stick with the core GCSE values, or they can choose to go through academics. Now, a lot of youngsters aren't academic. No matter what we'd like to think, they're not. So with those children and those young people, they need the opportunity at 14 to go and learn to be bricklayers. They need the opportunity to go and learn how to drive trains. Things like that, all kinds of manner of different jobs that could be done that you don't need a degree for. Now, there's people who haven't told that, yes, there's shops are closed in the town centre. It's not as vibrant as it was when I first moved here. It's a case of trying to encourage those people back. But because of the rates and the rents of the shops, that discourages a lot of people. So more people will start on market stalls, and we need to encourage that sort of ground up, ground up elevation, so that people are starting themselves, and they're not relying on somebody else to come along and say, oh, we found you a job. People are doing it themselves, and that needs to be encouraged. And that's what I do with young people in Wolverhampton.
Thank you very much. Emma.
Thanks, Stacey. A Labour government would introduce a compulsory jobs guarantee, which would mean that any young person between the age of 18 and 24 who is out of work for more than a year would be guaranteed a job with training and would pay for that by using a bank levy. Less specifically, that's the specific answer to your question, but given that other people have said other things as well that I think are important for young people, we're going to protect the education budget in real terms because we think that investing in the next generation should be a key priority for the future Labour government. And I personally want to create a system which values vocational achievement and education and qualifications just as much as academic qualifications. And for those who choose to go to university, and it's obviously really important that young people continue to go to university, those that want to do that and want to go down that route, we will reduce tuition fees from £9,000 to £6,000. I voted against the trebling of tuition fees in the last Parliament. It was one of the, in the first year that I was an MP, and I do worry about the level of debt that young people are being saddled with at a very, very young age.
Thank you. Becky.
Yeah, I'm obviously a teacher, so my perspective is education. From what I can see, there's still a huge divide between Wolverhampton South West and the rest of the city, and we need to focus on basic skills and qualifications so that young people get the skills they can use. But poverty is a real issue. We must raise on working aspirations and having positive role models so that we do not consider to or continue to see, as I've done, often 3 generations of families that have never worked or can't even read, not because they've never valued their education. I've taught in 2 pupil referral units with youngsters have been excluded from mainstream schools. But when you read their files, you can actually see why. We need to engage, inspire and motivate young people so that if they're not getting this at home from the media or local community, they can get it from youth centres, youth workers, for the positive role models in all areas that have been cut. I know my people succeed when they've got a full belly, encouragement and support from home, and early intervention from agencies when they're going through a crisis. We also need to lower the age of voting to 16 to get young people involved in politics. If they're able to pay tax and work, they should have a say in their future. And obviously apprenticeships, there should be the promise of a job at the end, and to try and stop these unpaid internships, which are really just a way of using labour. And that's what we plan to do. Thanks.
Thank you, Becky. Darren.
Yes, Stacey, thanks very much. Certainly apprenticeships, as we mentioned, the Conservative Party will be supporting 3 million more apprenticeships so that we have those different pathways that you can follow. Get a job, and there could be a job for all. We could actually get to the point where and we need that more here than most places. We need that lift of as many jobs as we can create here as well. If you have an apprenticeship, then you can choose that path and you can go to work for a company such as Jaguar Land Rover, which is a bit more technical, or you will go to universities I talked about with the fees. So apprenticeships definitely. When you're in work, being supported with your salary and being able to live. So under Conservatives, we would have, well, we are rolling out universal credit, for example. You'll be paid universal credit if you're on a low wage, as well as if you're not working. So you're paid to work. Also, we're raising the personal tax-free allowance up to £12,500. If you're on a minimum wage, you will pay no tax whatsoever. Okay, so these are the things that we can do. As I mentioned, there's 1,800 fewer people in Wolverhampton North East claiming job seekers allowance, so the trend is going in the right direction, so we keep that momentum going. Jaguar Land Rover is superb. That was got 1,400 jobs. Certainly, when they're producing enough Jaguars around the world to, fill those jobs. And don't be fooled by we jumped up and down and we said, come to this area and the Jaguar Land Rover came and built a plant. It's because George Osborne created the right conditions for Jaguar Land Rover to be here. People complain about the Stafford Road and the roadworks that are on that road. Well, that was part of the deal, that we sorted out the infrastructure so we could broker the deal on that one. So that's how it happened at that sort of level. So that is good. But better still would be to encourage businesses so that you can go and work locally. Small businesses, like the one I'm involved in, are the lifeblood of this country, and they're in decline. And then we talked about shops, so it's encouraging low business rates, encouraging business. And I think the Conservative Party would certainly do that.
Thank you. Thank you all. Stacey, is there anything you want to say in response?
I just felt like, I mean, it's cool if you want, like, you're able to go out and get an apprenticeship, but I was just thinking more like an unemployed young person who's 19 and you can't, like, you haven't, it's not accessible for you to go out and find a job, or you can't do it, like, I think, like, Emma gave a good point about how they have the legal allowances, but I was kind of looking for the advice to tell me a bit more about what they would do for that 19-year-old young person, not the 90-year-old young person who's got an apprenticeship, or the 90-year-old young person who's starting up their own business, just an unemployed young person.
Yeah, I mean,
Thank you very much.
if I could come
Briefly,
back
yeah.
to that, completely agree. We keep hearing about Jaguar and Land Rover, but you're absolutely right. If you look at Jaguar's Solihull, a lot of people come from Wales to work there because the local people do not have the skill set. So 1 in 4 people in Wolverhampton don't have any formal qualifications. The Green Party idea of eventually bringing in the basic citizen income of £73 a week for anybody over the age of 16 would be a safety net. You could then go to college under Green, so you could go to university for free, and you would have your student debts wiped if you have been to university and you're in debt. So there is like a buffer, obviously, to then give you more choice as to what you want to do and have a real career, not just a job.